Hi there, this is Billy Earl with Delmarvalous Americana. We have a special guest today, Jake Banaszak from Lower Case Blues. This guy is a monster. We're going to talk about how he got here. We're going to talk a little bit about the technical aspects of playing guitar. We're going to talk about anything really he wants to talk about. Jake, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
This pandemic has been brutal on musicians. It's time for us to support them, and it's time for us to get them back to where they are economically safe and comfortable. Anyway, so there we are last Friday down at Revival, and Lowercase Blues. Well, you guys were just pretty much blowing the top off of that place. It was just
Yeah,
so sweet.
we were having a lot of fun. It was a good vibe, like we said earlier. It was a good
Yeah.
vibe.
There's not that many live music venues in this area. I mean, if we lived in downtown, New York City, there would be 50.
Right.
But, we have limited here. And I just want people to realize that, live music doesn't fall out of trees, and people, I think, shortchange the value of music. I mean, you can see the way that the economics of it work today, with people stealing more music than they actually buy. But if they don't do that, then guess what? It's going to go away and it's not going to be here, and then people are going to be really sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just have always appreciated just the live aspect of it. Being in the room, actually being able to hear the band in person, and also, I mean, after the show or during the set break or whatever, getting to hang out with the musicians and talk to them a little bit. That's something since I was a young kid I always appreciated. So hopefully that just continues.
Well, tell me how this journey started.
Oh, well, I mean, for me, it was, we were 90s kids, so we all wanted to be like Nirvana and Alice in Chains and guys like that, Pearl Jam, So, kids got their guitars and their drums and met up and you jammed in the garage,
Okay.
That's the same thing, as a lot of kids do, I guess. But I met BJ, my partner in crime there.
Oh, that bass player.
That bass player, yeah. I met him in high school, and he is a guitar player.
I know.
He didn't play bass then, so we would just get together and play guitars all the time. And that's kind of how we met in high school and started doing that thing. And then he ended up getting a bass, so that's how Lowercase got started. But me individually, I just kind of I don't know. I just kept playing. I took lessons for a while, when I was a kid.
Okay.
So I just studied every day. I practiced, it's all I wanted to do. It's just everything. When I was a kid, I fell in love with it and fell in love with the blues. When I started learning how to really play, my teacher, I was like, I want to learn how to do this, And he's like, oh, you want to learn the solos, And,
Of course.
Yeah. It's like, because I knew the chords and I was learning, just a bunch of different songs, but I wanted to advance. And that's when he showed me some blues stuff, and it really just changed my world. It was just a sound and a feel that I just fell in love with. So yeah, that was kind of the start of it for me.
What was your very first guitar?
I had a Lotus. It was like a Strat knockoff.
Okay.
My dad got it from the farmer's market with a little amp, little starter kind of thing.
Yeah.
It actually got stolen, but. So I don't have it now, but that was my first guitar.
Were you tempted to tear it apart and change parts and?
Not really at the time. I mean, I ended up after that, I started, I remember I got like a SG knockoff and some different things, and then I got my real like Fender Stratocaster.
Yeah.
So by the time I got that, it was like the Lotus was more of a, memorabilia kind of thing. I just kept it in the closet for, keepsake kind of thing.
Okay. Now, you've probably been through what, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen guitars since then?
Actually, not as many as you'd think. I've had some people have gifted me things, like they'll have a guitar that they're not playing, and they want me to have it. So I have some things like that laying around, but really I'm very much a minimalist, which is kind of rare for a musician. A lot of guys like to collect a lot of guitars. I have two main Strats that I use. I have one, I need a backup, so I generally travel with two just in case. But yeah, I mean, I got a couple of Strats. I have some acoustics and stuff that I have around the house, and like I said, and then a few like gifted kind of guitars that I pick up every once in a while. But really, that's it. And yeah, over the years, I mean, there's been a few that I've like bought, liked it for a little while, traded it or something. There's one that I got rid of that's on my mind at all times that I just wish I would have kept.
I got one like that too.
Yeah, there's one. It's a 1983 57 reissue. It's just a really, really cool guitar. And I was a kid. I was 22 years old or something, and I just wasn't playing it. So I sold it.
Okay.
And I regret it now, looking back.
It's like a girlfriend who got away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Except
definitely.
more valuable.
Now, yeah, those ones, that was like the first, I think they did the first reissues in 82. So 82, 83, they were the very first of the Fender reissue guitars, making them like the old ones. So they're just like, they did them really well, I guess. Somebody told me that was going to be a valuable guitar, and I didn't listen to them. And I got rid of it. And then, yeah, I think I got it for like $500. And the last I looked those up, they're going for thousands now. And I'm like, I wish I'd have kept it. Not to mention it was a really cool guitar. I would have definitely been playing it. But yeah.
What kind of acoustics do you play?
Honestly, I don't play a lot of acoustic. I have a Fender acoustic. I have a little Mini Martin that I like. That's kind of just to sit around, you know. And then I have this nylon string that somebody let me borrow, and I really like that one too. It's got a smaller neck on it than the normal the nylon strings have, like the bigger, you know.
Okay.
And this one's got a little bit smaller, and I really enjoy playing that. But honestly, I play way more electric than I do acoustic.
Okay. Do you have formal practice sessions when you're running scales or you're writing or?
You know, it goes through phases for me. Sometimes I get in writing mode, and that's just the part of my brain that's working, so I roll with that. And when I'm writing, if I'm being in that creative element, I gotta take it, because like I said, it comes in waves.
Okay.
So when I'm feeling inspired or something, I'll sit and I'll write, whether it be instrumental music or lyrics or both, or if I'm writing songs for lowercase, or sometimes I just get inspired to write just something that may never amount to anything, but I just want to write it at the time.
Right.
If that's happening, I roll with it. I let it happen. As far as practice, I lately have been kind of hitting the books a little bit. Honestly, if I'm feeling a little stale creatively, I'll try to get back to the book work.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'll try to learn some new techniques. So like, you can hop online and find something to work on these days, whether it be on YouTube
Million
or
things.
I just ordered like a lesson book on just kind of like some different modes and scales and different approaches on ways to use them and things like that. And a lot of it I know, but it's just a different approach. So I'll just, different rhythmic patterns or different phrasing, things like that, I'll work on.
When you're writing a song, does the music come first or the words?
Generally, it depends. Generally the music. Sometimes I'll get an idea, like I'll get like a hook lyrically, and I'm not a singer. Okay, so I mean, I get ideas for lyrics, and I'll write them down just because it's cool to have lyrics. Because I found, especially with blues style music, like you can kind of, as long as I have the lyrics and the idea, it's like I can kind of put it to any feel. Like if we're coming up with like a funk groove or something, and we're trying to write something a little on that vein, I'll dig through my lyrics and be like, oh, these might work,
Okay.
And that way, if I have a journal of just like all kinds of ideas for songs, it's like sometimes they'll line up, even if it wasn't the initial idea that I had for that song, it might work in a better setting or just a different setting.
Okay. Do you write songs predicated, the lyrical part, on a theme or on an experience you had?
Yeah,
or?
it's all different. I know like some of the stuff with blues, I try not to make it so much, like, because everybody writes those same kind of, oh, my woman left me, I'm out of money.
Ran over
it's all like poor me kind of stuff. So honestly, I've in recent years, I tried to almost take other people's experiences and write about them, because I can get like a different perspective instead of just trying to write about me all the time. I'll just use somebody else's story as kind of like my baseline.
Joni Mitchell does that.
Yeah. I know a lot of people do that, and I find it to be a little easier because I'm not like it's not so internalized for me. Like I'm not trying to like say something so deep and meaningful personally. It's more just kind of like taking a story and developing it myself, into my own interpretation or something like that. So I kind of do that. Or sometimes it's all about the hook, I'll maybe see like a catchphrase or a line. It's like, that's a song right there. And then, you focus it around that. And I'll do that sometimes too.
Okay. The course of a 40-hour week, which probably it's not really accurate in this. If it just comes in waves, you might write a song a week, a song a month, a song a year.
Yeah,
just whatever.
Yeah, it's when it comes. I mean, 9 times out of 10, if I write one song, I'll write another one almost immediately. Because it's like that part of my brain is working, and I'm gonna roll with it. I just take it as it comes. I really do. And if I'm feeling inspired, I do it. And then sometimes I do like instrumental stuff. I'll try to write like more instrumentally. And that a lot of times comes out of either just practicing and coming up with something cool, or listening to music. I'll listen to, like, lately I've been listening to guys like Gary Clark Jr. And guys like that. I really like him, just as a songwriter and as a guitarist. So I'll get inspired by I love his rhythms and his feels, kind of where he's coming from. They're deep and they're kind of a little more like slower kind of grooves. And I've been kind of trying to make some stuff like that. But it just depends. It depends on what I'm feeling at the time. And I'm not the only person in the band too. A lot of times I'll take an idea to BJ, and he'll be like, "Well, why don't we do it a little more like this?" You know what I mean? And I'm very open-minded. I'm not stingy about that stuff. I love other people's input when it comes to the creative process.
Collaboration works best if everybody's open, and if everybody's juiced.
Yeah. Well, you got to put the song first before yourself. And sometimes your idea wasn't bad, but maybe somebody else's idea was a little better. And people can be kind of stingy sometimes with that, and that's fine. To each their own. But for me personally, I appreciate it. There's been times where we had this song all laid out and it was great, and then we went back to it and we changed the feel a little bit, and now it's like, oh, now it's a song. And it's just one little thing. So it's very much with BJ and I, especially because he's a vocalist too. So I'm not a singer, so I have lyrics. I'll hear it in my head how I think it should be sang, but sometimes we'll have to switch the key, whatever, to accommodate whoever may be singing the song.
Yeah. The guitar that you have now, you said, I think in an earlier conversation, you've had 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And you've done a little work on that. You've switched out, I think, the pickups.
Yeah. Over the years, with Strats, everyone's so individual, even though they all kind of have the same template. It's funny, man, you'll pick this one up, pick that one up, they're 2 totally different feels, I'm sure you might, And so I've kind of just found out what I particularly like, so I got the neck that I like, and then got a body, had a friend paint it for me, and then just experiment with pickups, just try some different things out, see what sounds good in that particular guitar, and see what works for me.
This is a conversation that goes back about 4 years ago. I had with a guy who I consider to be my best friend here on the Eastern Shore, named Mike Prettle. And Mike and I did a lot of sailing together. But he asked me one time, he said, you got a bunch of guitars. Why do you need so many? And I said, well, here's the way I look at it. If I had a desire and a love for impressionistic paintings, would I get just one? I said, they all sound different. Yeah. They all require a different approach. Some of them are easier to play than others. Some are distinctly harder, but there's things that they can do that maybe the other. I said, part of the journey is playing them. And I sit around, and I almost always have a guitar at home. But they all have a different personality.
They do.
And getting in touch with that personality and learning how to play it, for me, is half the fun. It's half the fun.
Yeah, definitely, man. I've always been partial to Strats. I like Tellys a lot. And I do. There's some Gibsons that I have liked over the years, But for me, like like I said, I'm such a minimalist, and the way I have to live right now, I'm just kind of like I don't like having too much stuff, too much clutter. If I got stuff laying all over the
Right.
place, it's just kind of like, what am I doing with all this stuff?
Yeah.
You know. So particularly for me right now, I'm more in that just have what I need kind of thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I love when people bring out guitars for me to try out and play, and I'll like play them on a show sometimes just to and you're absolutely right. Every guitar definitely has its own thing and its own, and certain things work for certain people. You know what I mean? That's how they achieve that sound that they hear in their head.
Yeah.
And that's why there's so many, because it's to each their own.
There you are. You're growing up. You're a grunge guy. You've gotten turned on to the blues, and how is it that you and BJ decided that this was a lifetime experience for you? This happened?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like personally, what got me started, really, I mean, started playing in some bands and stuff when I was a kid. Not with BJ, actually. We were in separate bands at the time. But I getting into blues. I remember my pop. He thought it was cool that I was playing this old style music. He was
Yeah.
like, really. He saw I was ordering CDs online and stuff, and getting it was all rock, and then it started being more like B.B. King and Stevie Ray CD would come in, and he just thought it was cool. So there was a blues club in Wilmington, closer to where I grew up, and my dad took me out there to hear. He was like, let's go hear some blues,
Yeah.
And it was the first time I ever heard a live blues band, and it was a guy named Larry Garner out of Baton Rouge. He was
Okay.
touring. Yeah, he was on tour, and the club is called Fat Rick's in Wilmington, barbecue kind of.
Still there?
No. So we're sitting there watching the band. It's great. I'll never forget the feeling I had just being in that club and just hearing the music live. And it was just, I mean, I'll never forget how it made me feel the first time hearing it, and experiencing it. And then on his set break, Larry came around and talked to everybody, and I was the only little kid in the place. I was 15 years old, and my dad was like, "Yeah, he's learning to play guitar. He likes the blues," and I brought him out to hear a blues band,
Okay.
And the next set, it was the first or second song. He walks off the stage with his guitar, and he leans into me. He's like, "Can you play an A minor?" And I said, "Yeah." He handed me the guitar, and I put it on, and he put me right up on stage, and I'm playing. Bass player's about, seemed like 6'5" to me at the time, and I'm looking up, and I'm just like playing, and the place loved it, and the owner particularly, he just took a liking to me, and we became friends, and needless to say, it was like, I mean, almost every weekend we were back at that club, and
Right.
and he would get me on stage with different local guys or whatever. So I remember that moment being like a start for me. And there was also,
Wow.
Gene Fontana was there that night too, who runs a blues society up in Delaware there. And he was doing festivals at the time, so he was bringing guys through, Eddie King, who played with Coco Taylor, and Eddie Shaw, who played with Howlin' Wolf, sax player.
Okay.
They were coming through at the time, and he'd get me on stage with these guys. So I was a teenager getting to jam with these
Wow.
great blues players. Just just sitting in, they would they just encouraged me, gave me a shot.
That's
So
inspiring.
I fell in love with it, man, and so that was kind of the beginning of like why I got into what I'm doing, and I felt like it was kind of meant to be for me. Like it found me in a way as much as I found it.
Okay.
And then when I met Beej, it was like we were just two peas in a pod, man. We just in high school I brought my guitar in one time, and I was playing after school. They gave us a classroom, and some kids had some instruments, and we were just kind of noodling around.
Yeah.
And he came in and said, "Can I play your guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." Yeah. So I handed it to him, and he just started ripping it up. He was like really good, and we became best friends at that moment.
Okay.
We hung out every day, and just always trying to inspire each other and show each other new things. Check this out, check this out. I just heard about this band, all that stuff. But it wasn't until after high school, really, when we got kind of serious about it, and we started getting some shows together.
Right.
There's a local blues musician named Tom Larson.
Oh yeah.
You know Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing guy. I love Tom. He definitely got us our start. He used to get me up to jam with him, like I said, when I was a kid, and then
Okay.
I brought BJ out to hear him, and that's when BJ started learning bass, actually, because he had Tom had a bass player named Charles Calloway. I was with him for years, and BJ really took a lot of lessons and a lot of things from Charles in the beginning, learning bass techniques and stuff, and that's a lot of those slap techniques and stuff that BJ does.
Oh, I was watching him.
Yeah, I mean, and he learned a lot of it from Charles, and then he was playing with Tom as well. BJ was. He was filling in with Tom. So then I remember Tom heard us play one time, me and BJ together, and he was like, "Man, you guys sound good. I think I could get you a couple shows." So he booked us some shows. I'm forever grateful for that. That was before we even moved down to this area.
Okay. Where were you living at that time?
Well, we grew up in northern Delaware.
Yeah.
Yeah, BJ's from Newark. I was more around the Middletown area.
Okay.
So not too far, but it's definitely a different world. It's more Philly and Jersey kind of, when you think of the tri-state area in that part of Delaware.
Well,
then,
I'm a city boy, so
Yeah,
I'm attracted to that.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, as I said, I met a lot of great people up there, but then we started getting some gigs down at the beach in Rehoboth. And I remember it was 2003. I convinced the guys in the band to let's move to the beach and live for a summer. I think we can get enough shows to just live and party all summer.
Okay.
And well, we got a lot of shows booked, and we never left.
No reason to.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great, man. I mean, at the time there was Sydney's Blues and Jazz Club in Rehoboth.
Okay.
So we used to go hang out there all the time, and then of course, like Dogfish Head and all the local bars and the Rusty Rudder started booking us, and things just started to kind of snowball for us around that time.
Okay.
It became full time, and the opportunities kept coming in. We got to open for Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Buddy Guy came to town. We got the opening slot for him. Festivals, things like that.
That's
just
my
big
cat's
events.
name.
Buddy Guy.
Guy.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, so things just started snowballing around that time. Like with those first few years of living at the beach, we just, it was exciting and very fun.
Oh, it had to be.
Yeah.
Had to be.
Mm-hmm.
People want live music, but they don't always want live music that is different or extraordinary, or they want you to play Freebird.
Yeah. I mean, it's the DJs have their place. A lot of people like to go hear a DJ, and then there's like the top 40 music. That's the sing along stuff, which is fine. I mean, I say to each his own. I can't speak to what people like. But we're definitely more of a niche. We have our places where it really works, and I'm very grateful for that. We have a ton of local support around here and always have. The people at the radio station, Ocean 98, they always play our music, and they'll help us out.
Cool.
Over the years. And then, even things like the State Fair has called us to do shows.
Okay.
And we opened for Blues Traveler there one time, and that was amazing. And,
Wow.
Just from being local and just kind of traveling the region, it's like as long as we're present, it's like things come from it. We have a ton of local support, even through COVID and everything, which was tough on everybody.
Yep.
Some of the venues just kept us on, and we were playing to limited crowds. We weren't making as much money, but I wanted to keep my business going, and I wanted to keep my career going at whatever it would take to do it. I had worked so many years, my whole life, to get to where I'm at, and I'm not just going to sit around, So I was really grateful that some of these venues were able to keep us playing, and people were able to come out and still hear us.
I get it.
To some capacity.
I don't think most people appreciate how much time and effort it takes to become a professional musician.
You just got to really love it. You got to really love it. You got to love what you do. And I'm just a very grateful person. People have supported me this whole time since Larry Garner handed me his guitar, or my guitar teacher. His name's Anthony. He's a great guy, and me and him just had fun playing. He every week at my lesson, it was just exciting to learn something new, and I'm grateful for all those experiences.
Yeah.
That led me to where I'm at today, and I'm still, I'm always trying for more, bigger, better things, whatever will come my way. But I'm just very grateful, to be able to do what I do.
Where do you see all this going?
I'm taking it day to day, man. Just trying to, whatever comes. I'm, worried about this summer right now. Just taking, just trying to keep myself booked up. We've been, heading down south in the winter, which has been good, because it slows down around here,
Yeah.
at the beach for sure.
Yeah.
So we've been doing some shows down in Florida, which have been going very well. And then just take wherever the opportunity comes, man. Whatever comes my way.
Do you guys work through a booking agent, or you just do it all yourself?
We do it independently.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to different booking agents and stuff, and some people will call me for something specific, but not a full-time thing. It's like, I mean, I can do it. I can answer the phone or answer an email. That's basically all it is. I would love to be working with somebody that could take us to a different level, maybe get us more on a tour, on some bigger shows, on some bigger festivals. If that comes, then, it'll be accepted for sure.
I suspect that will happen. You guys are just doing some, you're out of the box. You're different. But you're also, you're accessible. There's kind of a stage warmth that you have that some musicians have it, some don't. Everybody's got a completely different story about, how they got to the next level. And so many times, it's just fate.
Yeah.
It just happened somehow,
unplanned. Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, just on the other side of that, I know a ton of great musicians locally and beyond that, aren't rich and famous or, and they're doing just fine. I mean, there is that other side where it's not all about, trying to make it to some level or whatever.
Right.
I take everything as it comes. If an opportunity comes in, I take it, and I try to strive for more. But there's definitely some of my favorite musicians and the guys I admire the most are guys that play clubs around town or around the city. I go to Baltimore or wherever and see a show, and it's, 150 people in there enjoying great music. And I don't see anything wrong with that either.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Who do you really like?
I mean, you're talking about locally?
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, I'd be too afraid to leave somebody out if I start naming too many names here. But there's a few that stand out for sure. There's a guy named Joey Fulkerson. Do you know Joey?
I know the name, but I don't know anything about his music.
Yeah, he's got a band called Nothing But Trouble, but he does a lot of solo stuff, and he's just an awesome guitarist. I really, him and I have jammed a lot, and he's one of my favorite. Him and Chris McAfee and the whole band,
Is he on the shore here?
Dover, based on Dover.
Dover, yeah.
He's good friends with Junior.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, just over the years, I mean, Gary Cogdell, Tom Larson. There's a guy named Sean Casani who I love listening to play. He's an amazing guitarist, based out of Wilmington. Much more like jazz style.
Right.
But I just love listening to him play.
Well, look, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Guitars and music, and especially the blues idiom, are special places for me. Mm-hmm. And I just want to thank you for taking this time, coming all the way down here to beautiful Barry.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the support.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, you people out there, lowercaseblues.com.
.net.
.net.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Go there. Come to the gigs. Remember, supporting live music. This is the saying of this little YouTube station. A life without live music just ain't hardly worth it. This has been Billy Earl. Ciao and gracias.